Hi guys, this is Nightmare3464. It's Eyeless Jack. He's after Serena. Who will Serena choose? Jeff, Eyeless Jack, or Masky? We're almost there to the final choice, where Serena gives her decision who to go with and who to leave behind. Anyway, let's continue reading chapter 8. Eyeless Jack's point of view. Serena stared at me wide-eyed. Give your angel a heart, your heart, she whispered in fear, clear in her voice. My abyssed eyes behind my mask watched her intensely as I shook the expression. Girls love romantic things, right? A heart saying romantic. I always heard those guys in the movie telling these girls they had stolen their hearts, so why is it different in Serena's eyes? Well, Serena's not really stealing my heart, I'm just giving it to her. Okay, it wasn't my heart, but I wanted to give her my heart, but I wouldn't be here right now. So I found someone else that does care for her. I took theirs, and now I'm giving it to this beautiful organ to Serena. It was perfect. She didn't look away from me. Her mouth hung open. I was hoping for an "aw." I nodded quickly, and as she answered, her mouth shut and her eyes grew larger. She was happy, or was she scared? Excited? I wanted to know. What do you say? I whispered in a husky tone. I was nervous, yet happy to hear her answer, and she broke away. She stood there in silence, though her face grew confused. Whose heart was it? She whispered, sounding like she didn't even want to ask it. The heart. I tightened the grip of my hand on the heart from my free hand, and she was about to puke. I thought of her in her state as well. She blinked. I couldn't tell her now. Well, it will spoil the surprise. It's for me to know and you to find out soon, my angel. I said in a smooth voice, leaning against my forehead against hers. Something burning, twisting, twirling her silver hair mixed with my fingers. I wish I could feel my skin against hers instead of having a mask on. She closed her eyes and grew scared. It looks like she's beginning to shake again. I only had that look on my victims' faces as I began my dark blue mask and black eye holes. I didn't want her to be scared of me. That's the last thing I want. Shifting the bloody heart into my hoodie's pocket, I let my bloody gray hand and touched her face. Shh, it's all right, Serena. I will never hurt you. I could never hurt you. Speaking those words, she slightly opened her dark ocean blue eyes, slowly lifting them open, looking at me. If she could see my face, she would have seen me smile. If I see a smile on her beautiful face. Angel, don't even fit her. As we stared at each other for a moment, I wished she would go on forever until I saw out of the corner of my eye, my missing eyes, her hands were slowly reaching up to my face. She was going to take off my mask. I quickly grabbed her hand, reaching her hand out and twisting her wrist. I couldn't let her see me now. Not yet. Not until we're safe away from here. Somewhere where Jeff can't find us. There's one thing that's hiding place. It's in this thick swamp of the woods. All of the murderers call home. She flashback of my sudden grasp on her hand. I knew that she was once again scared. She was terrified. She didn't look away, but was ready to cry. I grew the urge to lift my mask here and now, but it wasn't the right time. Serena, Ben, are you okay? Damn it! I completely forgot about Jeff. Both me and Serena's faces traveled to the door. They heard footsteps running up the stairs, alongside with claws printing against the metal floor. Bringing my mask, I glared and looked to Serena. She looked at me with fear in her eyes, to the door as well, ready to yell out to Jeff and smile. Ben was knocked out, so we didn't have to worry about him, but Serena was the other problem. In one swift moment, I lifted with my left hand. I clinked and grabbed her and covered her mouth with my right hand. I pulled out a knife towards her throat into the window as she was screaming and biting on my hand. Luckily, I'm used to the pain right now. She wasn't affecting me. Now we were right in front of the window. As the doors flung open, two frenzied beings I was hoping not to see again. They looked at each other, and I could tell Jeff was growling again, alongside the husky growling with him. If he had eyelids, he was glaring at me. Jack, what the hell? What are you doing with Serena? Let her go, you bastard! Jeff yelling at me. I quickly shook my head in response. No, Jeff. Serena's my angel, and she's coming with me. You can't hurt her anymore, I yelled in a harsh tone, throwing Serena over on my shoulders, jumping back to the window frame. Still facing Jeff, I quickly pulled out my knife from my hoodie's pocket and waved goodbye. Jeff was raged, it could clear in his eyes. He yanked the butcher knife from his bloody stained jacket and roared and bolted towards us. Smile was next to him with fangs about to strike at me. I chuckled lightly and jumped back out the window. Serena was screaming. I quickly stabbed my knife into the strip of the blade into the factory wall. We were sliding down faster than I expected. Landing on the roof of the building, I hurried and jumped off and landed on the grass. It was rough fall, but I stand up and ran towards the woods. Serena was screaming for Jeff as I carried her deeper into the woods. The angel was finally in my grasp. Jeff's point of view. An hour has passed and me and Smile searched all over the forest for Jack and Serena. Nothing. Growling, I stepped back inside the abandoned factory, heading upstairs in mine and Serena's room. Ben was sitting rubbing his head. I snapped in front of him, and now glaring down at him. Looking up, he held one eye closed in pain. Ben, what the hell? I asked in anger in my voice, barking as he grew confused for a second. Then he closed his eyes and shook one open as he jerked shaking his head, looking around the room, jumping to his feet. Wobbling by the pain, he looked back to me. Where's Serena? He asked. Worry showed on as I folded my arms. Jack took her. His eyes filled with black widened at my answer. Eyeless Jack? I nodded as he stood up straight, now looking down and rubbing his head. He looked like he was thinking. I remember now, me and Serena, we were waiting for you and Smile to get back. I let her go to sleep, but Jack showed up. I tried to get her out of here, Jeff. I did, but you know Serena, she's stubborn like a mule. He smirked, joking, but didn't seem to lift in my mood. I was not in the mood for jokes, Ben. What was that I heard about Serena being kidnapped? All of a sudden our eyes traveled to the echoed voice. It was Slender Man, leaning against the wall, head facing the window as he soon calmed down, whatever. But I could sense something else, worried. Who knows what's going on with Slender Man, but he acts like he's like a protector for Serena. I wouldn't be surprised if he was. Turning to him, I unfolded my arms. Eyeless Jack took Serena, I answered. He turned to us and stood up straight, his faceless nearly touching the sill of the ceiling. He walked over and loomed over us. He may have a blank face, but he still had the intruding of the eyebrows. I'm sure he looked like he was Lord, something like that. I don't know. Jack's here too, he said, like an echo, like a voice, waving in the lightning, growing angry and short of a way. I nodded and my smile widened. I was pissed off grin. Yeah, and probably Serena's. Yeah, he was saying that Serena was his angel. I wanted to laugh, but my rage was only left in my light chuckle. Ben cocked an eyebrow at me and bursted out laughing. His angel? Oh, that's rich. We both laughed at each other and Slenderman shaking his head. You two both realize now that we have to start searching for them. In minutes, you two are aware of giggling like girls. His voice were waving information. We both looked at him, standing up straight, and we nodded. All right, let's go. And with that, we left the building. That's Jack's point of view. Serena has settled down after 20 minutes since we left the factory. Now she was just looming over my shoulder. I slowed down and started fast walking to see if I didn't want it to slip, so she didn't slip off while I ran. Finally, we reached what I call home, abandoned asylum. It was been abandoned about 2 years ago. I had attacked and killed most of the patients and doctors, so they left their equipment. Me being without a home and raised in a slowly life, Serena, I wanted to make sure Serena was safe. I slowly lift Serena off my shoulder and putting her to her face. She looked like she's been asleep. She blinked her eyes rapidly and changing to a bit tired as she looked at me and then to the asylum. Her eyes widened as she stared at me, trailing to my head. Lightly, I took her hand and pulled to mine and pulled her towards inside. She followed me like a child with their mother as we walked through the empty rooms, dyed floored with vegetable bloodlines on the walls, while wheelchairs and needles laid in the halls. We walked down. I hid in all the skeletons and scorpions to make it look nicer for Serena. We walked up countless staircases and stopped at a door. I used my free hand and turned its handle and used the other one still holding into Serena's hand. I pushed the door heavily open towards. It creaked loudly. The noise echoed through the halls. I grimly pulled her in and letting her go. She looked around, examining my room. I shut the door. Serena's point of view. My eyes traveled around Jack's room. It had two beds pushed together with white sheets and a table next to them, a TV, a chair, and a small large window. It had walls mixed with a gray and white color. I was suddenly wondering what had happened here in this hospital. Why was there lines of blood? Did he kill everyone? This is why the asylum was abandoned? What do you think? He said in a shy voice from behind me. I blinked and turned to him. He was right behind me. I jumped back and was startled. I'm used to Jeff being that close. In fact, I enjoyed it. But a masked stranger? No. Looking at him, his head, his drum studying me. I shifted my feet, uncomfortable. I didn't want to answer him, so he spoke again. I cleaned it up for you. I expect my angel had to come and live with me. I couldn't dare let her come in my home being messy. I knew that you wouldn't like him. That old Jeffrey wasn't smart enough to realize that. Live with you? I cut in shock. Was this guy crazy? Well, he obviously was crazy, but did he really believe that I wanted to stay with him? Seeing the surprise, then first nodding, yes, Jeff was hurting you. I wasn't going to let that bastard destroy you. Jeff will have to go through me before he hurts you again. Hurting me? How is Jeff hurting me? Jeff isn't doing anything to me. And I'm sorry, I can't stay here. I need to go back. Jeff is probably looking for me, I said, walking past the mass male. He quickly jolted past me and blocked my way, and jerking me into a hug. He held me closer against him. His heart was beating like crazy. I stood froze all of a sudden as he held me. I listened as the fast heartbeat of his continued beating, and his arms pulled me closer. I can't let you return, Angel. Not to that monster. He will ruin you, and I can't stand for that. Serena. He stopped for a moment, thinking. I've been watching you for a while now. Jeff is blind with his feelings about you, but I'm not. I've grown fond of you, and you could say that your love began growing. Please don't return to him. I'll do anything. I listened closely to his words, shifting as I could feel his breath on my head. Failed to notice that one of his arms was moving up to his mouth and pulling it off now. My eyes widened. My ocean blue eyes looked at his face as he pulled his mask off. His mouth showed that he had large, white, sharp teeth, and his skin was dark gray, like a storm cloud. Once more, he stopped and pulled the dark blue mask completely off, or just cut above his nose. I watched intensely as he breathed heavily. He is now removing all his mask. He was expecting me for excitement on my face or something else. Since the time has passed, would I accept him, or would I dare do to him if I didn't? Please don't be frightened. With that, he pulled his mask completely off. And with that, I stared into nothing but black holes. So, Slendy, where exactly is Hoodie and Masky? I'm surprised they're not here with you. Slenderman jerked his faceless head towards the blonde elf. It gave him a tense glare if he had a face. His white face. I told you, don't call me that. Hoodie is out looking as well as with Masky, he answered, facing back towards the wood. Ben sighed, wishing he were out there with them instead. Slenderman, Jeff, and Smiles. Jeff was ahead as he grabbed, looking around. They still couldn't find Serena or Jack. Or even Smile couldn't catch their scent. Damn that Jack. When I find him, I'm gonna willing carve his neck out, Jeff grilled in his mind. Then he's been walking for hours and glaring to Ben instead intensely as they stood there and rest. Ben stopped again and sat down a tree as his bottom hit the ground. Smile was also laying down. His feet were killing him as Jeff looked at them, and so did Slendy. He admired that Jeff wasn't tired. He didn't want to rest until Serena was safe and back in his arms. Go rest with them, Jeff. I'll scan and teleport back if I see anything. Jeff hesitated and ready to argue, but it's better not to argue with the Slenderman. Then he nodded. With that, Slenderman disappeared. Jeff lay down next to Ben, folding his arms behind his head. His missing eyelids stood in thought, complete playing in the sky. Serena's image rushed through his mind. His pale skin slightly lifted in his psychotic mind. She was always made him feel the same feeling that he had before he became this way. He felt happy. He had no idea what was going on with him. Looking to Ben, and an idea came to play. He had always tried talking to Ben how he felt about Serena, but Ben always avoided the question and walked away and giggling at it. Ben always was tired now. It's a perfect chance to talk to him. Hey, Ben, can I ask you something? The blonde boy looked at Jeff in confusion, down at his friend. What about? He asked, sound relaxed. Jeff looked away for a moment and back the sky. Well, I'm not really one thing. It's just Jeff was caught off and tried to find the right words. You're gonna want to find out how you feel about Serena. Jeff slowly turned back to Ben, smirking in his cheek. But Jeff was really clueless. Well, my friend, let me ask you a few questions. First off, do you ever get jealous about her when she's like around, when I'm around her, or when she's talking about another guy? Thinking of that, then Jeff nodded at the answer, Ben holding in his laughter. Alright, does she make your heart pound loudly whenever she is with you? Or when you guys in the same room? He nodded. This is getting good, Ben smirked to himself. Is she always on your mind? Jeff nodded again. Do you always want her to be near, or knowing that she's okay? Jeff nodded again. At least you ever thought about it, or doing things with her? In a sexual kind of way? A deep look crossed the black-haired 18-year-old's face. He shook his head and nodded at the blonde boy. Well, what the hell kind of question was that, Ben? Ben was holding his large grin and laughter back, intending to be serious and telling his friend how he felt about the girl. It was good that Ben could always tell Jeff's feelings towards a female, but now it was out in the open. Just answer. Jeff kept his eyelids glare at the boy, face still hot. Turning away, then staring at the ground, he slowly nodded. He couldn't deny it. That dirty, it was Ben who always tell him about Serena. Would be obvious racing through his mind. They intentionally spend most of the time together, but more than that day that Jeff found her. Every time that he laid with Serena while she slept, an urge came over him. He fought the urges, but getting more and more to fight it. Getting up and walking as like it would help. Bro, let me tell you how you feel. Jeff's eyes shot up to his friend's curiosity cleared in his face. However, seeing the smile, Ben was smirking at him. As he lifted his finger up in place and pointed it there, he moved his finger in the heart shape, facing the words, You're in love! Cue Jeff blushed, eyes grew wide, covering his face with red. Love? He loved Serena, but that he always was a feeling. The urge of the heart, the imaging of her smiling face, always covering his insane brain, making him whole, containing once more into her. That all was love. Ben dreamed his fingers, seeing that he pointed on his own thoughts. He knew it was love. He could tell Jeff was proud of it or embarrassed of it. Jeff, just accept it. You're in love with Serena. Jeff stared at the ground for a moment and back to his friend. He looked shocked. Jeff, you love her. You love everything about her. You love everything you said. Everything you said points that you loved her. All you need to do is accept your feelings. Jeff turned away and stared ahead of him. His mind was like a storm, trying to take in what he heard. I do? Yes, you do. It's like Ben just asked. It's clear as day. But do I really love Serena? Yes, you do, you idiot. She's the only thing that is the matter to you anymore. You said it yourself. She's the only thing that makes you sane again. Who makes you happy, brings up the good side of you. Is that so hard to see? Maybe you're right. Jeff, Ben's voice entered into my ears, shaking my head, looking back at him. The boy was standing and with Slenderman and Smile, grinning almost larger than Smile's. Slendy found Serena. Hearing the news, Jeff jumped to his feet. Slenderman led them towards, and Ben ran towards them and grabbed the tree and grabbed his pocket knife and stuck it into the rim of the ground. Slendy had already teleported a few feet away from Smile, following him, and Jeff with them. As well as we stopped, he went back to Ben. With his blonde hair, an 18-year-old was pulling out his knife, now slowly grabbing his breath. Then, "Hey, Ben." Ben looked back at Jeff. Eyes of his were black. Cocking an eyebrow, Jeff turned around and his color closed the emerging smile, wearing with a happy grin in his eye. "I accept it." With that, Rage held the boy, looking back, and caused the other one to smile. Slenderman and Smile and Ben pushed the knife out and finally stood up. He watched the others run and folded his arms with a smirk upon his face. "It's about time, Jeff," with a cocky laugh, and with that they ran towards them.